Welcome to the Glitterboon Girls. Hit the something da da da. Welcome to the Glitterboon Girls show. We are talking about Saturday morning cartoons, in case you couldn't tell. Yeah! We are authors, Robbie-Ann McPherson, that's me on the East Coast.
And Amy Asbury, that's me on the West Coast.
And we are just two old friends who love talking junk about pop culture, and we love and revere pop culture nostalgia. That's our thing. So today we are delving into Saturday morning. Think about it. If you're like me, you're a child of the 70s. If you're like Amy, you're a child of the 80s. So you wake up Saturday morning, your parents aren't up yet.
Exactly.
And you got your jammies on, and you go into the living room, and you don't have a remote, so you actually turn the dial and put the TV on.
You get on your beanbag, in my case.
Yeah, in my case, it was a gold velour type couch.
I had one of those too. We had a gold velour couch. That's
with
funny.
A dark brown rug. And I would... I know what my lineup was, but let's start with you, Aim. So you get up. Now, do you make cereal for yourself, or do you watch cartoons and then make cereal? Like, what was your morning routine on a Saturday?
I think I got up, it was pitch black out, and before, the typical spot would be 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock or something like that, where we were. But before that would be some kind of religious programming, so I'd watch like Davy and Goliath, There was always some kind of...
I love Davy and Goliath.
I loved it too, but there was other shows on at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and I think they sold a lot of advertising spots because they thought, okay, here's the kids are going to watch at this time, starting, it's probably the 60s to the 80s. This was a thing for all of us. At 8 is when the real lineup, 7:30 or 8. When I was a little kid, it was Terry Toons, with like Heckle and Jekyll and Mighty Mouse. It was Woody Woodpecker, that sort of thing, and Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes. They were kind of, I would say, cartoons that were for grown-ups in movie theaters prior to when I was a kid. They kind of reran all those old 40s cartoons.
Right.
But then there was a ton of Hanna-Barbera when I was a little kid, which was things that used to be run in primetime in the 60s, like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Top Cat, and also old Alvin and the Chipmunks. So they were all kind of things that were already out. But when I hit about 3rd grade is when all the fairy tale lineup kind of came out. It was the Smurfs. It was the Snorks, things that were mystical and fantastical and not based on families like the Flintstones. So there was so many different lineups, and I do recall in the 70s there was a ton of animated versions of popular primetime series like The Brady Kids, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. They were all cartoons. It was even Mork and Mindy, and there was like Laverne and Shirley in the army. You were like, wait, what? And there was a lot of storylines that wouldn't be feasible in the real show, like they went to space or like, just like crazy things like that. So there were so many things. So just whatever they threw on there, you guys, I was going to watch. I think my favorite was probably the Gummy Bears. Disney finally got in the Saturday morning
there was
lineup.
a Gummy Bears cartoon? It's
called the Gummy Bears. It was really, really well done. It was, the premise was so silly. They had gummy berry juice, and it was like medieval times, and there was these bears, and they lived in the woods. However, great theme song, a bunch of Disney voices. This up. I swear.
Medieval gummy bears? Come on,
Medieval gummy bears. It was kind of like the Smurfs background, but they were gummy bears. And then they went on these tunnels and kind of like a Disneyland ride through these hollow trees, and it was just this crazy, out of control things. And my lineup changed quite often. But through the years, it just gave me something. It inspired me because when I ate my sugary cereal, well, my mom wouldn't really buy the sugary, but when I ate my buckwheats and turned off the TV, I'd go out and make up some crazy game, and like, all would be good, and it was so much fun. Now, what was do you remember a specific lineup?
Yeah, before we get into mine, though, I got to ask, so when the lineup was over,
Okay.
was that your cue then to go play
Yes.
outside? Okay, so it wasn't like you just got tired of sitting there. It was like all the good shows ended. Yeah, okay.
All the good shows ended, and they started showing the Three Stooges, and I was like, I'm done.
Oh, see, I love the Three Stooges, but for me on Saturday mornings, it was all about the animation. The Three Stooges, that was something I wanted to watch after school. Like, I didn't want to watch cartoons after school. I wanted to see sitcoms and live action. But on a Saturday morning, I would climb wherever I needed to climb in the kitchen, pour myself actually I would usually bring the box and the milk, and sit at the table because I would just pour and pour and pour and pour and eat.
Right.
And
thousands of calories.
Oh God, the sugar. I mean, as we talked about in a previous episode, in one of our food episodes, I mean, all I ate was sugar when I was a kid. My poor mother did everything she could to
except for not buy the sugar.
Well, no, but I wouldn't eat. I did eat vegetables out of the garden. And to this day I love vegetables.
That's so cute.
Fresh vegetables,
Awesome.
Burger King,
Burger King.
It was just, I refused to eat buckwheats or grape nuts or any of those
bear shit,
twigs and rocks cereal.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I would wake up, and as a little kid, on weekend mornings, I would get up probably around 7, go and set up my cereal and everything, and put the TV on. And my lineup started with the Hudson Brothers.
What in the world is that?
That was...
Hudson Brothers. That must have been...
That was Mark, Bill, and Todd Hudson? I should have looked this up. Anyway, there were 3 brothers, and they had this Saturday morning cartoon show. And they had like a band, and they sang, and played guitar. And so, of course, I was all about that. And Mark Hudson later married Goldie Hawn. Yeah. So Mark Hudson later married Goldie Hawn and was Kate Hudson and her brother Oliver's father. So that's kind of who he was. And then after he and Goldie split up, he married Cindy Williams, a.k.a. Shirley from Laverne and Shirley.
Player.
Yeah. Well, they were all cute. The Hudson brothers were so cute. So, yeah, I would watch that show. And then the Pink Panther came on. I loved the Pink Panther. And for many, many years, I thought that the voice of the anteater... which was like when the Anteater cartoons came up, if the episode came up, it was rare. It was like...
Wait, so was he an aardvark? Is that an anteater?
Yeah, an aardvark is an anteater.
So he was like he had like a blue t-shirt and blue arms and blue
right, with the
outfit.
the long snout. Right.
Yes.
So I thought it was Jackie Mason, but it was not. It was John Byner, who was another very, very famous 1970s comedian, and he was on all kinds of shows, like every variety show, and he was a real big star back then. But the Anteater had this way. His phrase was always "You stupid ant," and he would just say that.
That's why kids would call each other that. Some of these things I called my sister. I'm like, where did I pick that up from? Stupid head is one of the things I called her.
No, a stupid ant.
Stupid ant.
Yeah, he was yelling at the stupid ant. He would just go, "You stupid ant." So that was hilarious. And there was like one episode, I think, where the Pink Panther actually spoke.
What did he say?
He never spoke. He said something, and he had this English accent, and it was something like, "Well, that was unusual." Or, it was some like.
Tom spoke once.
Oh, you're kidding!
Tom
Really?
spoke was on Tom and Jerry, and Tom and Jerry, were they kind of like the after-school ones? They were all on it all the time.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry were constantly in syndication.
Tom yelled every once in a while, like if he got hurt, you'd hear like this man yell. He'd be like, "Ah!" Like, and it was cut from the very beginning and the very end, so it was just the center of the yell. It was a pretty great yell.
So it was like, "Ah!"
Total man voices. Like if he got really hurt, which, I mean, pianos were dropping on his head. So many things were happening, but sometimes it would be too much. And one time a house blew up, or Jerry like blew up the house, and he said some kind of a funny pop culture thing from that moment. He popped his head up from the rubble and he said, "And don't you forget it," or some kind of silly thing. But yeah, Tom spoke once.
Yeah, and it was like a big deal. But after the Pink Panther, then came Bugs Bunny, and it was the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner hour. So
Yes.
they had all the Merry Melodies cartoons, and they had the Bugs Bunny Elmer Fudd. They had the Roadrunner and the Coyote,
What was your favorite?
and then Yosemite Sam. I just loved Bugs Bunny. I thought those cartoons were. I still to this day like the one with the big red monster. Where Bugs Bunny goes and
yes.
it's like a haunted castle, and there's this this poor this bat flying around, and he's a vampire, and there's a big red monster, and Bugs Bunny sits down and starts doing his nails and his hair like he's a beautician, and the monster the monster's just like, oh, okay, the animation's so funny, the faces are so funny, and Mel Blanc, who did like everybody's voice,
Right.
just crazy. And of course they like you mentioned earlier, these were actually cartoons that were shown before movies in movie theaters,
kind of between features they would have
yeah.
these, and that's why you see that a lot of them are kind of adult, like Tom's getting wasted or Tom's hungover,
right,
or the themes are a little more adult.
Oh yeah,
because they were for adults.
Yeah, I mean the Bugs Bunny ones obviously not aimed at small children the way that, say, the Smurfs is or something, right?
Yeah, because the whole rifle to the head and Daffy Duck's beak kind of spinning around his head. Actually, I thought that was really funny when I was a kid. But anyway, yeah,
well,
you're right.
I understand now. I totally get why parents want to monitor and censor things that their little children see. I totally get that. But I will say that even as a tiny child, I understood that this was a cartoon.
Yes.
And that this was not real life. I don't know why I understood that. I don't remember my parents ever talking to me about it or anything, but I never ever looked at these things like it was something I wanted to try. Or to me, it was like, no, this is a cartoon. Like people can fly and they can do all things that nobody can do in real life. So I don't think I was scarred by them, but
no,
I can see now, especially with all the sensitivities today, that when they do show them now, they censor the heck out of them. Like you can watch them now and you'll never see the hammer hit the guy in the head. You just, they cut to the next scene or something, but I'll sit there and be like, oh no, I remember that one. Like,
yeah, and I think that we got really lucky because it was 1996 where they fully started regulating the cartoons. And it was in 1996 when they required all broadcast networks to air educational and informational kids programs for at least 3 hours a week. It was called EI. And that's when they started using their money for that. And that was kind of the decline and the downfall of the Saturday morning cartoons. And of course, also, as we know, the rise of cable channels and Cartoon Network and Boomerang playing them 24/7 made it to where, again, my Crunchberry theory, wasn't as special on Saturday mornings because you could watch it all the time.
Right.
But also Nickelodeon shot ahead of everybody in Saturday morning viewership ratings because they started doing all children's programming, and that was one of the first cable channels to where it started taking away from that Saturday morning viewership. And I think I did read somewhere that another reason it was so popular with advertising and advertisers and money for the networks is because they could use one guy to voice so many characters.
Right.
And it was pretty inexpensive to animate some of these things.
Sure.
They could come up with all this content, not have to hire a ton of actors for it, and then sell that ad space for toys and cereal and whatnot. And it was very successful for the big three networks especially.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, and being as ancient as I am, I remember so clearly when you only had 3 networks to choose from, and then PBS, And here in Buffalo, when I grew up, it was Channel 29, which was sort of the, like nowadays it'd be the Fox, or, you know, sort of not a network, but a station. And Channel 29 showed a lot of reruns, and the networks, though, they were the ones you always tuned into for premium programming. And this whole Saturday morning thing, you know, after Bugs Bunny, I would watch the Superfriends.
Of course.
And early, I think I was probably 6 maybe, or 7, it was the Krofft Supershow. The Krofft Supershow.
That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, with Michael Lembeck leading a group of like, it was sort of like Godspell.
It was a variety show.
It was like Godspell without the God. Like they were all like marching down the street. You know, Krofft's got the super shows that'll blow your mind away. You know, and they're all dancing. They all have like newsboy caps and striped shirts and stuff, and bell bottoms. And they had the different stories. Like they had this car, this talking car. Then they had ISIS, almighty ISIS.
I just remember the Bugaloos, which I thought was the best. And there was also Dr. Shrinker.
Yeah.
Which was like a guy who shrank people really tiny in his big haunted mansion. And then there was Electro Woman and Dyna Girl.
Yeah, Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. That was huge. Yeah, and the Wonder Twins, Wonder Twin powers activate. That was a very purple cartoon.
Wait, I thought we were talking about Krofft. So
no. We are, but I digressed.
Oh yeah. Wonder Twins was part of the Superfriends.
That's right.
With their little guy, I think his name is Gleek or something. I was like, Gleek, really? Their little like monkey
form
friend.
of a water bucket, form of an eagle. And I never understood that. I was like, why?
Well, the eagle would carry the friggin' water bucket.
Yeah, but why don't you just both be eagles?
Well, because that guy could only do natural disasters. He could be a cyclone.
Well, you know,
they needed each other.
It did require a certain suspension of disbelief.
But that Krofft Superstar, I remember I was always waiting for the Bugaloos, which was part live action, part puppet, lots of foam and, you know, googly eyes. And they were in a forest and they were little buggies and they were a rock band. And, you know, it was this insane psychedelic show. And I was always waiting for the Bugaloos, but they always gave me Land of the Lost. I feel like it was always Land of the Lost and Sigmund and the Sea Monster.
Yeah,
which,
Sigmund and
they were okay, but you know
that'd be when I would go to the bathroom or go make more cereal.
I did love those two, and those two were always on.
Yeah, I was not about Sigmund and the Sea Monster.
I know. No. I think I was scared of those scary guys, the brothers, the mean brothers.
Yeah, I was real into, what was the talking car? The Wonderbug.
I remember that.
Wonderbug.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Wonderbug. Yeah, I was any kind of a car that talked. I was really into. Like, I was really into Herbie the Love Bug when those movies came out and stuff. So
and the Night.
Yeah, not so much. Because I had gotten a little older by then, and by then I was all into, you know, the Bee Gees. But for the Krofft Supershow, if people don't remember, it was like a variety show kind of, except it had all these pre-recorded story snippets and stuff. And
I forget the Bay City Rollers were on there, who doing some skits and musical numbers now and then.
Yeah, the Bay City Rollers, whenever they turned up, anywhere they turned up, I turned up. Because I was 7 years old when my dad took me to see them here in Buffalo at Klein Hans Music Hall. We were in the very last row, and I couldn't believe I was in the same room as Eric. Yeah, I think he was a guitar player, not the bass player. I think he was a guitar player.
Funny.
I was so in love with them. And of course, my last name, I'm Scottish. They were the living end to me. I mean, they were it. So I remember them doing appearances on stuff, you know, and they would usually, because they're not like actors, they would just sort of show up. And it was like, oh, the Bay City Rollers. And they're all standing there with their flood pants with the plaid cuffs and, you know, and the crazy hair.
I love it.
And it would just be some excuse, like, oh, gee, what are you guys doing here? Oh, I don't know. And they're holding guitars and drumsticks. And they're like, oh, well, let's do a song. And then they just sell their song to one more audience. Like, I still love, they have a whole bunch of songs that I still love, like Saturday Night and I Only Want to Be With You and Money, Money. How can you not? They were so my childhood. Like, holy
They were part of the dreaminess of Saturday morning while you were eating your cereal. What was your favorite cereal to eat while you watched these cartoons and shows?
I loved Boo-Berry.
Oh,
Boo-Berry
yes.
and Frankenberry. Those were my two go-tos. I was really into those little dried marshmallows. But I liked the contrast, with the oats kind of and the marshmallows. And I want to tell you, as a follow-up to our previous food episode, I recently was in the supermarket and I picked up a container of Strawberry Quick.
Did you really? After that issue you had?
Well,
Did you get a crazy migraine, your first migraine?
Yeah, it was my first migraine. You guys can check that out. I think it's episode 5. 5. So I decided to just check and see, okay, what's in Strawberry Quick today?
Yes.
Because back in the day, they would just say, like, artificial flavors. It was like,
yes.
what? So check this out. They don't even have artificial dye. They color it now with beet juice. And it's real sugar. They took out, like, the corn syrup and stuff. Like, Strawberry Quick is woke now. Like, they're woke. So, I bought the shit. Okay, so
No, you didn't.
And I made I've had 2 glasses so far. One was with
Now I could send you that magnet I bought you.
Yes, one was with lactose-free milk.
Wow.
And the other was with almond milk.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, I've changed. But it was so great. Like, I was like, oh my God, I miss this stuff. It tastes so good. It's just a big sugar bomb, but it was fantastic.
It's still how fun.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a total sidebar. But
I love it, though.
back to Saturday mornings. So the Superfriends, though, I want to get into the Superfriends for a second, because the Superfriends rotated their stories, right? So you never knew. It was like Sigmund and the Sea Monster. Like, you never knew what you were going to get. So if it was Aquaman, I would go get more cereal or go to the bathroom or go change out of my pajamas or wake my mom up or whatever.
Over Aquaman, because after that we'd go play with kids and stuff, and nobody wanted to be Aquaman. So that was always a fight. Like, the guys were like, I want to be Superman. And the girls are like, Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
And then we'd have to make arrangements, like, and say, okay, you be Aquaman this time, I'll be Aquaman next time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we just eliminated Aquaman. Like, we eliminated him as a super friend. So
why did we not like him?
I don't know. I mean, what was his superpower? Like, he just swam, right?
Maybe it's because Superman could fly and that was just so cool.
Well, they all had, like, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman.
Wait, Batman was not in there.
Yeah, Batman was in there. He was a super friend.
No, I don't think he was. He was not a super friend.
How could he not be a super friend?
Because one was Marvel and one was DC. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out.
Yeah, but wasn't this before they split off?
Oh, maybe. Super Friends.
Yeah. Look at us dueling Wikipedias.
All right, I'm looking. There's Batman and there's Robin. Boom, Robbie's correct.
I ain't no fool. I know what I watched.
Wow, Aquaman was buff. Oh, I see why we wanted to be Superman, because he was in the very front and he was the buffest. Wait, who are those 2 kids on the side?
Those are the Wonder Twins.
Oh, before, like, out of their costume?
Yeah. Who's the gray dog?
That's Gleek. He wasn't a dog. He was a little freaking monkey or something.
No, that's a dog. I'm looking at a dog. This is a gray dog.
You're looking at a gray dog. Okay, I'm looking at the Super Friends and their little guy. Oh, he's definitely a monkey.
Okay, wait. Let's get into the text here. Okay. So,
all right, look up the Super Friends and you will see that they have this funky little sidekick. And he is wearing like a hateful yellow outfit, and he has his own cape, and he looks like kind of a serial character, actually.
Okay, wait. Characters. Okay, the core group of 5 heroes made up the Superfriends. This was the Justice League of America, okay? And this is official, undisputed information from Wikipedia.
Gleek is his name. He is a monkey. Go on.
Okay, Aquaman, Batman,
Yes.
Robin, Superman, and Wonder Woman. That is the core group of the Justice League of America. Now, wait a minute. So, additional Justice League members included. So they added some people, okay?
Ooh.
So the Atom, like Atom, Atom.
What?
Who I remember the Atom, but I don't remember any stories.
What did he look like?
I don't know. Well, wait. Let me click on the link here.
Atom.
The Atom, Dr. Raymond Palmer, is a fictional superhero appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics.
Well, there's a ton.
Oh, he looks like, you know what? He looks like Captain America without the shield.
Yep, I see him, and he's got like a little atom on his head. All right.
Yeah, I must have gone to get cereal because I don't remember any Atom. Something called Firestorm, but that was 84 to 85, and by then I was no longer watching the Super Friends. The Flash, okay. Green Lantern,
okay.
Yeah. Hawkgirl and Hawkman. So that must be who those 2 little kids were, not the Wonder Twins.
Oh, Wonder Twins. Okay.
But the dog. Well, who's the dog?
I don't know, but look up Gleek. Gleek.
Wait, Cyborg. Rima the Jungle Girl. Who the hell is that? Okay, and then Justice League members that were created for the cartoon. Apache Chief, Black Vulcan, El Dorado, and Samurai. I don't remember any of those. Oh, here we go. Okay, pets. Gleek and Wonder Dog. Wonder Dog was the dog.
Things.
I told you.
I told you.
No, I told you.
Right.
We see each other. We tell each other.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, okay, one-shot Justice League appearances. So these are one-offs. Aben Sur. Don't know what Aben Sur is. Green Arrow. Plastic Man. That's another one I went to the bathroom. And Superboy. I loved Superboy. Because Superboy had that white dog.
Oh.
Krypton. Or Crypto was his name. Yeah, and then the Wonder Twins, Jaina and Zan.
Yes.
And they came out in 1977.
I like them. I like that shade of lavender. Their outfits. I like their outfits.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, okay, then the villains were the Legion of Doom.
Oh, that's right.
Right. And there's like 8 million of those.
I loved their console. I loved that they had like a desk full of buttons and things to push and little phones. I'd always try to like draw on one of those with markers.
Right.
And a bunch of construction paper. I'd be like, okay, here's our console.
And I loved how they showed Wonder Woman's invisible jet. You know, like they drew it in like white pencil.
Okay, I feel like they did the least amount of effort on those Justice League. When I started realizing, and I'm sorry for all the Scooby-Doo fans, but when I see people wearing the same exact outfits, and you know what, for the superheroes, I do understand, okay? But Scooby-Doo, come on, Daphne's going to wear that same outfit every single day. They lost me on that. And when they did the eyes without making the white part of the eye white, and it was just skin colored, kind of the same thing with Superfriends.
I don't know. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. First of all, I was a huge Scooby-Doo fan. And my poor father will attest to this fact because I had a Scooby-Doo board game when I was like 5. And it was some goofy game where you spun the dial and, you know, moved the little thing. And it was, let's just say for adults, it was not the most exciting thing in the world. But I thought this game was the living end. So I would just completely like bug my dad until he would sit down and play Scooby-Doo with me. And there was even a time I had to go overnight in the hospital for something, and I insisted that someone bring me the Scooby-Doo game. So Dad had to sit there at night in the hospital with me while we played
That's
ScoobyDoo.
so sweet.
Yeah, like you know what? I should find that like on eBay or
I
something
know.
because
That's so sweet.
it
It
I
brought
was
you
so in
joy.
love with that game. Yeah. So I loved Scooby-Doo and I did not take issue with the lack of wardrobe choices for the characters because it was a cartoon. So it's
I
like
don't know why it bugged me that. I know
but
you're
like little,
right.
you know, Little Orphan Annie, she wore the same thing. Charlie Brown, when did we ever see him out of that
And I didn't
shirt?
like them really
Right?
either. I needed to see more color, and I think it's because in the 80s they did have more of a changing scenery in the background instead of the same thing going by. And then I saw the juxtaposition, whatever that word is.
Juxtaposition.
I saw the difference between the two, and I went, oh, and I couldn't unsee it. So it just it bugged me, you guys, and I don't know why. It just did, and
I thought
kind
they
of
were iconic. I
they
thought,
were. They
you
they
know,
still were.
like I can't picture Danger Prone Daphne in anything but the purple dress and tights and those weird little shoes. Like and Thelma, although I was never really sure what Thelma's deal was. Was that like a big sweater and a wool skirt? You know,
Yes, it's a turtleneck.
yeah, it was very, I don't know, it was a very strange outfit. And, you know, Freddie, he was a dandy with his little
Oh, he
scarf,
was so cute. I love
right?
those two colors together. I love the color of the Mystery Machine. I
Yeah.
love the vibrance of their colors against the dark background.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
some of these,
you know what? The
you know,
Fat Albert kids, they all wore the same thing. Fat Albert only wore that red shirt.
I love that show.
And Mushmouth had the hat, you know.
That's right. That was a very interesting hat. No, I know that not every show changed outfits. Probably none of them did, but I think it was more stark. The eyes weren't fully drawn. It really bugged me. But in the 80s, they came out with, because of the rise of the arcade games, they did cartoons on Pac-Man, Frogger, Cubert, Donkey Kong, and they gave them all these backgrounds.
Right.
And
Now,
it
were
was
you
just so
into those though?
colorful. I
Were
wasn't
you?
into the games, but I knew what they were because of they were just every kid at school was talking about them, and they kind of made like them 50s characters. They just created some random stories on these that made no sense. Like Hubert was like at a 50s diner wearing a leather jacket or something. It was really ridiculous. And Frogger, they had these whole backstories. And Pac-Man had a family, but they were just really colorful, and they weren't so well animated, but I preferred those where they weren't reusing scenery and they put a little more color into them. But yeah, we had a bigger pool to choose from as the years went on, especially in the mid 80s when people realized, oh, wait a second, the Sears catalog, all the toys, there was kind of a boom in, I think the advertisers realizing that it was a group to try and target.
Right. It worked. Like the idea of that few hours of kids programming and, shoving in front of their faces. It certainly worked for me. Every single Barbie and, the accessories for the Bionic Woman and
what were her accessories?
a lot of board games and things like that. The Bionic Woman had an extraordinary ancillary group of stuff that you could get. First of all, she had an inflatable house, like it was like a dome. And my friend Karen, shout out Karen, she had this dome. And I coveted that thing like it was the Hope Diamond because for some reason my parents never bought me one, and it was like all I ever wanted out of life was this friggin' Bionic Woman dome. And then she had they called it like a beauty parlor, but it was like a repair station. And if you guys all remember the Bionic Woman doll, you could roll up the skin on her arm, and then there's her bionic cell like under the skin, and you could plug that in to this board for quote unquote repairs. And you could stick a thing in her ear because remember she had the hearing, right? Like she could hear super hearing. So there was that. Then there was an apartment. Remember her apartment that was like above the garage at Steve
course.
Austin's parents' house. So there was an apartment. There were also 2 Bionic Woman dolls. There was the original, which came with the red, white, and blue outfit, the blue pants, and the like Adidas sneakers. And then there was a second one where she had on this kind of fashiony blue jumpsuit, and she had a red bag, and she was a little more Barbie-ish, like not so sporty.
A little more glam.
Yeah, and so for each of those dolls, you could get 81 million different outfits. But the interesting thing about the Bionic Woman was she had flat feet. She didn't have the bent feet like a Barbie.
Ooh.
Okay, so when they put her in a dress, they had to put her in these flat sandals that came with a platform. Because, you can't bend her feet like Barbie's feet with the high heel shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, so there were a ton of... And then I think there was a car, I think, and I don't know. I mean, you know how these Kenner toys...
And you saw all of these during cartoons. You saw all of these products. You were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait for the Sears Wish book.
No, I clearly remember, like vividly, being 8 years old, watching Saturday morning cartoons and seeing the advertisement for the Barbie bubble bath. And
ooh, that was cool. You could push a button.
Yeah, and it was like
more bubbles.
And you put dish soap in there and stuff. I wanted this thing so bad. Like I couldn't even, I was dying for this thing. And I remember watching these ads and like they knew what they were doing, like it was like, hey kid, It
was like someone in a van. I cried over that Barbie styling head. I literally cried.
Oh yeah, me too.
Just the shoulders with the tray.
That was another one. And I didn't get the Barbie one. I got like an off-brand one.
Yeah.
But Karen got the Barbie one. Yeah, Karen had real cool toys. So
I had the Golden Dream Barbie one, and it had gold wire in with the hair, so when you curled it, it stayed.
Oh, wow.
I can't get over how cool that was. Yes.
Now, how much did you destroy your Barbies? Did you cut their hair and draw makeup on them and stuff?
Hair, well, the ones I loved dearly, which was my Pink and Pretty Barbie, 1981, and my Golden Dream Barbie, 1980. I couldn't destroy them. I still have them. I still love them. They were too beautiful. But my Marie Osmond doll and any of the backup, the B dolls.
No, Marie,
they didn't give her this like flash, so I was over it, and I just cut her hair off, and I'd get lipstick and dye their hair pink, if they were blonde, put streaks. I didn't really destroy my Barbies, just my Marie Osmond, because there needed to be a villain, and the villain was brunette.
Yeah, the villains were always brunette. I actually have a really important Bionic Woman doll story.
Oh, I need to hear this.
Yeah, this is really deep. Okay. Sorry, my cat McLickens he's really wants me to get up and feed him. So I was 8, I think, and I had a Bionic Woman doll, and my dad was starting his own business at the time.
Oh.
So he was not around a whole lot. And and like some father-daughters, the relationship is clear and easy to suss out, and others it's not so clear. And for a while my dad's and mine were not so clear because I was like this artistic sensitive kid, and dad is like he was an athlete in high school and he was in the army, and so I think dad, he didn't quite figure me out yet. And me being sensitive, I don't know. I was always like, does daddy love me? Like I didn't really understand, right?
Okay.
So one fateful day, I was jumping on my bed as one does when you're 8.
Oh my.
And I hear this snap.
What was it?
It was my Bionic Woman doll, and I had cut off both of her legs at the knee. She was in my bedclothes, and I didn't know it, and I jumped, and it was just like, bam, snap, and they were gone.
Oh, no.
So I go running with the doll that's missing the lower half of its legs. I go running to my dad, and I was crying. I was like, I was so upset. My dad, and like years later in therapy, I always go back to this. If I ever wondered whether my dad loves me or not, I always go back to this moment when I knew. He went and got the parts out of my bedclothes, went downstairs into his workshop, and hunched over his work table for like an hour with a tiny little drill and little copper wires, and my father reattached her shins and foot to each leg. And they worked because they swung, right? Like you couldn't pose them and they wouldn't stay, but
he did that for his baby girl.
He did that for me. And so every time, like, the challenging adolescent years, or, whenever people just have challenges in their families, even though you love each other. Whenever I questioned whatever drama was going on in my family, or even through the divorce, when my parents got divorced, I was always like, nope, my dad took my Bionic Woman doll, and it was like surgery. Like I came down there and I'm standing right next to him. I'm like, can you fix it, Dad? And he's like, don't worry about it. I got it.
Sweet.
I know. Isn't that unbelievable? Shout out, Daddy. I love you. I love you,
Daddy. That is so kind.
I know. That's my big story.
I love that.
Yeah. So we digressed a little bit from Saturday morning cartoons, but we are out of time again, Aim.
Oh, wow.
I know. That went so fast. Like the last couple episodes, it's like 5 minutes.
Well, they're great fun to recall. It's just a great time, and I'm sure many of our listeners remember those wonderful days of just sitting down with that cereal and just kind of watching those shows.
Right.
And it was a great time. I really enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah, me too. And we have to also mention, for those of us who grew up in freezing cold climates, how cool it was to wake up on a Saturday morning when there's like a snowstorm outside and you don't have to go to school. You're just getting up to watch cartoons. And later on, you can go out and play and make snowmen if you want.
Fun. Is that what it was like? I wish I could have experienced that.
Yeah, it was really cozy. They were some of my favorite times.
We had the brightest, sunniest days. So you'd go out into the yard with big green grass and palm trees, and it was super bright, and it smelled like fruit trees.
Oh my God, I love
all
that.
those different fruit trees and gardens. And so I had a really, really fun thing to face after those cartoons also, but it would have been really neat to see snow.
Yeah, there are ups and downs definitely to cold weather, but we'll have to do an episode, Aim, on sick days and snow days. We'll have to do that coming up.
Love that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson. I wrote a book called Taking Liberty. It's fiction. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, and BarnesandNoble.com. Aim, why don't you plug your stuff?
Oh, my name is Amy Asbury. I've written a couple of books, Sunset Strip Diaries, Confetti Covered Quicksand, and a fiction book called Once Upon the 80s that just kind of catalogs every single show, every single piece of candy, every single toy.
That is, talk about nostalgia, Aim. That is a masterpiece.
So detailed.
Yeah.
But a bunch of books. You can find them on BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, or wherever books are sold.
Yeah, and check us out, Instagram, Twitter, Glitter Bee Girls on either one, and our website, glitterboomgirls.com. We love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.